Okay, Yoga for Arthritis community. We are here offering some practices from our team to you in honor of, observance of International Day of Yoga. It's also Pride Month. It's also in the United States, Juneteenth, which is a celebration of the last area of the country to be free of enslavement. Long after legislation had been passed, word had not gotten to Texas of that legislation. And so I think that all of these things relate in that we have a shared understanding that all people deserve to be free from bondage, from oppression, from suffering, from attachment to pain, from false narratives. And yoga offers a path that that can't be offered through some other means. We absolutely need changes in legislation. We absolutely need community outreach and social justice. And we each, every one of us, have to do our own work to free ourselves from the things that may be holding us back individually, aside from what also holds people back collectively. So in that vein, I'm going to be sharing a centering and warm up practice, and then you'll have some other practices from members of the team. So we'll be seated, and I want you to notice the 90-degree angles of your body. So notice the angle of your ankle between the foot and the lower leg, the angle of your knee, the angle of your hip. All those 90-degree angles, or approximately so, depending on your leg length and your chair height. And then notice the expansiveness of the spine and all of its curves, lengthening upward, grounding through the feet. Feel the connection of the feet into the earth. Our mother, our home. And then our connection to the expansiveness above, through the crown, lengthening the spine upward that so often gets compressed when we're weighed down with the worries of the world. Draw the shoulders back and down and let the shoulder blades come in toward each other while still creating space between the ribs and the hips. Notice if your gaze has tightened, if there's tension around the eyes, around the jaw, around the throat. Allow that to soften. Imagine that whatever you're looking at, the image is coming to you without you having to work to send your vision out to the image. A sense of allowing, of being, without doing. You can close the eyes if you'd like and maybe place a hand on the abdomen and notice as you breathe the movement of the abdomen. It moves out on the inhale and in on the exhale. You can even do some ujjayi breathing and make that sound audible, the breath audible, like the sound of the ocean that comes and goes, ever changing. And we can think of each ourselves as drops in that ocean of humanity, of life, of existence. Part of a whole and yet also individually unique. We'll start with a responsive peace chant. You can keep your eyes closed for this or your gaze down, whatever feels comfortable for you. I'll chant each line and then I'll allow a moment of silence for you to chant it back. Consider that as you listen to this, as you engage in this practice, we're all chanting together, all over the world, anyone who is sharing in this practice. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari 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 Om. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Hari Om. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari 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 Om. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari 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 Om. Hari 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 Om. Om Om Hari Om. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari 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 Om. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Hari Om. Om. Notice any changes in the body as a result of that sound vibration that can help to break up muscle tension, perhaps, can help bring us into the present moment in our minds, can help us feel connected to the whole. Starting some movement, let's lower the chin toward the chest and just feel a stretch in the back of the neck. Maybe turn the head side to side a little here. Continuing to breathe fully and deeply, lift the head gently, take a gentle lift of the chin, just gazing slightly upward without dropping the head back, moving the head back and forth in that sagittal plane. And then take the head to neutral, turn and look over one shoulder and then the other. You may notice that the head goes further in one direction than the other, which is absolutely fine. We are asymmetrical beings. We acknowledge that without judgment or concern. And bring the head back to neutral, tilt to one side, feeling a stretch on the other side of the neck. You can even place a hand on that shoulder and allow the weight of the hand to increase the stretch without any pulling or forcing, just allowing gravity to deepen the intensity of that stretch if it feels good to you. Breathing into any places of tension or tightness. You can even give yourself a little massage here. For me, those trapezius muscles get a little tight. And then as you're ready, use the hand to lift the head back up to center so you don't tense those muscles we just stretched, and then drop the head to the other side, keeping both shoulders relaxed. You can again put the hand on the opposite shoulder and let gravity intensify the stretch. You can give it a little massage. And then as you're ready, lift the head back up to center, give a little wobble, roll the shoulders, keeping the spine long. And reverse that shoulder roll. Alternate it, one shoulder and then the other. And then take it forward. Extend the arms out in front of you, wiggle the fingers, open the hands and close them. And it's fine if you can't make fists here, just bringing the fingertips closer to each other, strengthening the grip that's so important when we're living with arthritis. And then take one finger at a time toward the thumb. Again, if it doesn't touch, absolutely fine. Just getting a little movement into all of the small joints of the hands and fingers. Roll the wrists out. And for any of this, if it starts to feel a little uncomfortable, a little too much, slow down, make it smaller, take a pause, give yourself a little love. Lift the fingertips up toward the ceiling and then drop them down toward the floor, back and forth. And then extend the arms out as though you're pushing something away from you, and then back, drawing the shoulder blades back, and then pressing away and then drawing back. And if you'd like to, you can use this like a rowing motion, making it a little bit circular. Maybe orchestrating the movement with the breath to exhale as you draw the arms back, inhale as you extend. And then alternate one side and then the other. Again, perhaps with a circular rowing motion, engaging the elbow, maybe rotating the palm, moving the radius and the ulna of the forearm, turning and looking over the shoulder. So now we're getting a little bit of a spinal twist involved. And then come to center, shake the arms out, release the hands to the kneecaps, shift side to side, getting a little bit of movement into the hips. Your chair might creak and that's okay. Taking the feet a little bit wider, make a big circle with the spine like you're stirring a pot of stew. Getting now some movement into the hip joints. As we move each joint of the body, we're sloshing around that synovial fluid, reducing stiffness. We're warming up the muscles a little bit. Maybe do a figure 8 here in any way that feels good to you, front to back, side to side. Just a little improvisational dance is fine too. Getting some movement into the hips. And then we're going to bring the feet back to center, slide back so your back is all the way against the back of the chair. Lift one leg up and then flex and point. So now we're getting some movement into the ankle. And mine cracks, which is fine. Roll it out. If that feels okay, roll it in and then lower it down. Extend to the other side, flex and point. Still sitting up nice and tall. Roll the ankle out now with the support of the chair behind you. And roll it in and lower it down. Alternating one side and then the other, you can keep your hands on your thighs in order to feel the quadricep muscles engage. Exhale as you lift the leg up. Inhale as you lower it down. And on the other side, exhale to lift. Inhale to lower. And then do this in your own time with your own breath, which is going to be slightly different from mine. So you don't have to keep pace with me. You might be faster or slower. You might want to keep the leg out and hold for a few breaths there, which is fine too. And in fact, what we're going to do now is hold on to the chair for stability, or the arms of the chair if your chair has arms, and try lifting both legs. And maybe they only come a little bit off of the floor, which is absolutely fine. As high as feels comfortable or possible for you. You can keep holding onto the chair for stability, or if you feel nice and stable, you can take the hands to the hips, to the shoulders, out to the sides, cactus arms, up overhead, all kinds of options here, whatever feels good for you. Keep that length in the spine, keep that space between the ribs and the hips, keep the fullness of the breath. And maybe you start to notice that your legs are getting a little bit tired from working so hard, which is absolutely fine. Slowly lower them down and then stomp them out a little bit. Maybe give yourself a little massage of the legs. Now, engaging the calves, we're going to lift up the heels. So the balls of the feet are staying on the floor, but the heels are lifted like a little Barbie foot. Still sitting up nice and tall. Still notice the shoulders over the hips. Still notice whether the chin is forward or drawn back in line with the rest of the spine. Drop the heels down, lift the toes up, and the toes aren't going to come up very far perhaps, and that's absolutely fine. Maybe they don't even lift off of the floor. Alternate back and forth. So you notice that your knees pop up, and you can coordinate this with the breath as well. Exhale as you lift, inhale as you lower. And you can stick with this, or if you want to play around with it a little bit, try lifting up one heel and then the toes on the opposite side. So you have one knee that's a little higher than the other, and then switch. Lift up the opposite heel and toe, and then back and forth between the two sides like a little bit of a march. Engaging the muscles of the lower legs and the feet, as well as getting some movement into the joints. And drop the feet down into the floor. Sit up tall here. Close the eyes perhaps, and just notice. Notice if you feel a little bit warmer anywhere in the body from all of that movement. Notice if you feel a little bit tighter or a little bit looser. Without judgment, without expectation, there is no right, correct here. Just an opportunity to observe, because when we observe, we can take informed action. And that's true in our own lives, with our own bodies and minds, and it's true out in the world. It starts by paying attention. Observation followed by discernment. And then as you're ready, blink the eyes open if they were closed, just to get a little bit more movement. Lift up one arm. You can bring it into a cactus, or you can take it alongside the ear. Lengthen the spine and get a nice big side stretch of the whole spine. Feel an opening in that whole side of the body. Breathing into whatever stretch might be happening there. Grounding through that hip, so dropping the hip into the floor. And then lengthen back up. Take the arm out and across to the opposite knee. Sit up tall. Look over the opposite shoulder. Holding onto the chair, you can take this arm as far back as you'd like. Keep the length in the spine and feel the twist through the whole spine. Without pulling, without forcing, just a gentle twist, looking over that shoulder. Continuing to breathe. And then come back to center, take it to the other side. Lift the arm up, lengthen through the spine, take a big side stretch, open that whole side of the body. And then lengthen back up, take the arm out to the side, bring it across the body to the opposite knee. Lift up nice and tall, turn and look over that shoulder. And then bring yourself back to center. Scooch forward in the chair. And if you have a chair without arms, you'll turn sideways. Otherwise, you'll stay facing forward. Holding onto the back of the chair, drop this knee down toward the floor, or slide the foot back. Feel a stretch in the front of this hip. If this is compressing your low back, drop the tailbone down. Just to get a nice stretch in the hip. We got some movement into the hip joint, but we didn't get a stretch of the hip. And you can stay here if this feels like enough, or you can take this arm up and gently gaze upward, getting a nice big arch of the back if that feels okay. Again, engaging the core so that we're not compressing the low back, feeling an opening in the whole front body. And then release that. Take this leg, bring it forward, walk yourself around to the other side, or just switch legs if you're facing forward. Stretch this leg back, drop the knee down, or take it back further to feel the stretch. Drop the tailbone down, engage the core, keep the shoulders and hips square. You can even pay attention to the alignment of the ankle and knee here. It's not really weight bearing, but it's good practice to notice our alignment. You can stay here. You can take this arm up, take a gentle arch back if that's available to you, if it feels good. This is your practice for you. You get to call the shots. Your body, your mind, your practice. And then as you're ready, lower that down, take the leg forward, bring yourself back to center. Take a moment here, and you can close the eyes if you'd like, just to notice if there's anything that your body is asking for, anything that we haven't done to warm up the body that you feel like is really needed. Maybe it's some seated cat-cows, maybe it's a figure 4 stretch, whatever it is for you. Take a moment to listen to the body, to heed that call. And then when you're ready, settle back to center. If this is the end of your practice today, then I wish you well. I hope you take all the energy of this warm up, this movement that we've generated out into your day, and that it serves you. And if this is just the beginning of your practice, then I hope that you feel ready, warm, ready, engaged for the next part of your practice today. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. Thank you so much for all of the work that you do in the world. Namaste.